will call this meeting to order at 7:05. First item on the agenda is approval of the February 11 minutes. Did anybody have any suggested edits or corrections that they did not already submit to Brad?
Yeah, so Brad submitted his to me and I incorporated them. They were a couple of errors and but minor.
Does the chair hear a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we would be in line for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Those opposed, please signify by saying no. With one abstention, the minutes are approved, otherwise unanimously. I believe we are in line for a discussion next on one parking lot issue. Catherine, do you want to walk us through your thinking on the naming of the climate action and resilience plan element names?
Yeah, so I wanted to, before I sort of share my thinking, maybe frame more of a discussion around, current state and what has changed in the last 5-10 years and then what I saw that we have 35 minutes, but that includes updates from the climate action plan. So just this sort of level set, what does that agenda item include?
I want to spend about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes on your thing and the rest of it on Shannon's
Updating.
thing.
Yeah, that's what I assumed, but it was all couched in one agenda item. So
Yes.
I wasn't sure what your thoughts were. Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, so I think in my reading, we all did our homework. We have 5 great pillars, and I think they map on nicely to the work that we've done to date and signify what our sort of values are as a town and where we see the most impact in terms of reaching our climate goals, carbon reduction. There are some things that I saw in the plan that seem to be a little bit more cross-cutting across and don't sort of neatly fit into one of those pillars. Are we calling them pillars, sectors, sections? What, I don't know how to name them.
I believe the terminology we had before was plan elements.
Plan
And
elements.
I would love to change that name.
Okay, I haven't been using it at all, so that could be, topic one, we could figure out what we
We're
call
not
them.
wedded to that.
Okay,
So it's buildings, energy.
mobility,
Yeah.
preparedness,
Thank you.
exactly, natural resources, so those are, we should name them, right, natural resources, mobility. I should know them, I just did my homework, preparedness, and
Built environment.
built environment, exactly. So I guess I would put out for discussion or just put out there, maybe it needs to be at a later date if this, if we just have the 5 minutes, that to capture some of the things that cut across. We should probably think about either creating sort of naming either sub-actions within those pillars. Or maybe creating a 6th or something that can capture that, and in my mind, that cuts across things like. Or we could name it something like governance and finance, something that clearly articulates how we think about the implementation, the accountability, the ownership, and moving some of these priorities forward. For example, I'll just give some examples in here. I saw things like tracking our finance emissions. I think there was something about kind of adding a chief climate officer. There was something else that had to do with governance that's escaping my mind. But there were sort of, I would say, not a lot, not like, 20, 30, but I would say probably a handful, maybe 5 different sort of actions or sub-actions, whatever you want to call it, that just sort of, you could put it in preparedness, you could put it in someplace, but it really touched upon all the other elements, or at least more than one. So it just got me thinking, like, are these the right elements? We certainly want to build on our work and we want to be able to track progress over time, so we don't want to just sort of blow it up and completely rename them. I think it's okay to rename if we don't like the name, but it captures the same, we could put one of transportation, something like that. I think that would be fine. But so anyway, so Brad asked me to sort of put it out there and see what people thought.
We could have like the first section that's sort of general. Or I don't know, or what was you thinking, or
So you had written, and this was 2 months ago, maybe your thinking has changed, but you had a proposal. So this was the initial thought.
Okay, yeah, I didn't look back at what I wrote you, so that was 2 months ago, so remind me.
I did. So here's the initial thought for what we might potentially call things. First draft. Climate resilience and net zero energy transition. Nature, natural capital, and biodiversity. Sustainable sourcing, social and community impact. Or no, I'm sorry, sustainable sourcing is one. Social and community impact, sustainable finance would be the fourth, and then waste and circularity. Right, as potential planned rebrandings.
Okay,
But the idea being to capture cross-cutting elements and trying to find the natural ways to bring them together as plan elements, and then also to be more inclusive of accountability and good governance, which I would agree.
Yeah.
Go out on a limb and say, I would agree that I felt that was missing as a named theme in the plan, where we had a lot of concepts of good government actors and stakeholders, but we weren't necessarily naming governance as a theme. And I think we ought to.
Well, and in part, obviously, things have shifted in town. We need to make sure that there's accountability, buy-in and ownership, understanding. I know when we had our conversations with natural resources, there were some people at the table that didn't even know. You know, they were even in the plan or didn't even really know about the plan. Partly that was they were new to the position, right? But even with turnover, right, there should be some training there or some visibility. I like that, yeah, I remember putting those down. I guess I would retreat to say, I think that's a bigger discussion to completely like blow up all the names, but I think what that gets out of that are things like life cycle analysis and sourcing. I was really happy to see in the packet that the town already is doing some really good intentionality around procurement and how you source things, and that's actually you're moving the needle on even refining that to a greater degree. So maybe the town's already doing that. That may or may not need to be named as an action that we push if it's already happening, but at the same time, I think it needs to be in the plan, because these are all things that the town is doing towards these goals, these shared goals. So, and I don't think that that's captured in at least the way they're named right now in some.
right. I guess they'd like to, think about that. They've kind of, named all the elements a single word or as simple as possible, so it's sort of like, easy to remember or something, and maybe it gets more complicated here. And add the nuance that captures everything. I don't know if there's some downsides to that or. But I think we should be creative. What do you, so I didn't catch all the five, and it was not fast enough to.
That's what I was gonna say. Can I hear this voice again?
Sure. And again, it sounds like
Weren't they up there?
I have them up, I can,
Okay.
of course, the second I stop sharing, I'll need them again.
And I think there are more than five, and I think some of them could be potentially combined, you know, under one umbrella term too. It's just a matter, I think it was more calling out, are these things captured in the existing
Okay.
plan and how do we want to go forward?
Climate is. I mean, I can type them in, I can get.
I can send that to you.
I had a comment about linking the world of resilience with net zero. To me, in my mind, the resilience activities are different than the mitigation activities.
Yeah,
So I don't necessarily think we should combine the two, but other than that, I think they're good.
Well. What is net zero, net, yeah,
sustainable sourcing might be able to be combined with waste and sustainability too, potentially.
sure, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I had assumed when you sent that list that sustainable sourcing and social and community impact are linked together. So this is more like a list of,
yeah, so it doesn't capture that there's like a built environment. And it doesn't separate mobility and
Yeah,
and
mobility.
buildings, which are kind of,
Yeah.
it's nice to know what you're talking about. So,
But I guess the question about the built environment is, you know, there's embodied carbon, there's, you know, thinking about zoning issues, there's, the energy piece, right? But some of those things feel like they fall under, but you're right, it may be that it's the built environment, but like under built environment right now, I think we have waste, which is sort of like, you know,
Right, so
I think of built environment as being like, you know, things that don't move, right? And so things like circularity and waste disposal and things like that, maybe that is built environment, but
no, I
See what I'm
think I
saying?
agree with separating those, cause. Cause they really aren't set. But taking like the energy transition, that's kind of like a bucket of. That CMLP works on and and also people putting solar on or something, but, yeah.
I think that's consistent with our existing category energy, right?
Right.
That's
Sustainable,
natural resources.
yeah. Which may be just another way to say the same thing, and I think what with that. And again, we can keep it as natural resources and just talk about the actions that go underneath it. But what this is getting at is really sort of getting away from kind of mushy metrics, and really thinking about how do we set goals for that? How do we think about forest management? How do we think about, you know, my bias or my thinking is that we're doing a really great job and moving the needle on in mitigation and carbon reduction in terms of our consumption and
yeah,
quite frankly, CMLP is really great work. That's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is actually sequestration. We're not really looking at that. I think Concord does a good job of it, but we're not really measuring it, making sure that we're really understanding. And we might be doing it, we're not putting it into the
I mean, that's
plan
all
with respect to,
that's.
yeah, so that's not,
That's
that's
under natural resource.
resources. So that's why the natural capital, but that's a little provocative, that's why it's there, because philosophically, people may not want to ascribe either monetary value, carbon budgets, things like that, but it's happening, right? It's happening in Europe. There's a lot of just great progressive work that's happening on that front that
Right,
we might not be ready for, but it may be something that's in our future.
I'd like to second something that I think you're saying when you talk about sourcing and also circularity. That we need a scope 3 category, like for products and services. Either that the municipal government buys or that we all buy. In the latter case, you think of it as a consumption-based emissions inventory. But buying less or flying less or eating differently, all that stuff. Circular economy, all those things. I think they fit into scope 3 for the most part, and it'd be really a problem not to address them in this update.
okay,
So I think a category for that, whatever you call it, is a good
I
idea.
agree. I mean, scope 1 and scope 2 are way easier to measure, and it's what we focus on. In terms of true emissions, scope 3 dwarfs those two categories.
Yes.
Absolutely dwarfs them,
And
so we can't ignore
them.
not ignore it. So, I even thought, do we do this in terms of scope 1, 2, 3, but that's too weird, and wonky, and it's not the way you would. So,
yeah.
do you want to say anything about the governance piece or?
In terms of the categories, I like the original categories, but I feel like we could add. We could pull out the waste. Into a separate category, like the waste and circularity. And then sustainable finance. Isn't included at all in the original. No. But I agree that waste doesn't really fit with the built environment.
Yeah. Now, when you say sustainable finance, you're talking about the town's finances, or you're talking about everybody's finances? Yeah.
The towns, I mean, we can't control everybody's finances, so.
Right,
Yeah, so,
Um,
pensions and how do we, where investments play, banking, et cetera.
so I would put that under governance.
Yeah.
If you wanted to add a category of governance. Put
You
the,
said governance and financing, right?
Put the-
But government combines together, I was thinking as one category,
yeah,
I like that.
And it could again be something that's just named and infused throughout, but because it cuts across them, right? So that's why
Yeah,
it felt like none of those things that we're talking about actually fit in one of these elements.
And there was, it was a little bit in the original plan, right, on just under leadership and education.
yeah,
It wasn't explicit.
okay,
Where exactly in this picture would we be squeezing transportation mobility issues?
Yeah, that needs to stay, that definitely. needs to
yeah.
So in the interest of just kind of moving things along, I'd like to put a scope on this conversation. It sounds like, Paul, you haven't had anything to say, so interrupt if this radically departs from your thinking. But it sounds like the sense of the group is it would be good to use your phrase, Brad, get creative with our names a little bit, have them be a little bit more descriptive. Maybe that should be driven by what's actually in the worksheets that you've all very, very thankfully done. You're making me look bad. I haven't submitted my worksheets yet. But that should give our consultants a good sense of where our heads are at regarding all of the things underneath these category names. And then maybe we can get them some kind of rough draft of here's where we're thinking the bucket should be and look like.
Yeah,
Do we think we could do a rough draft of that right now for them and then move this along?
well, of the buckets, I like what Shelley said about keeping the five and breaking, and in the cases like the governance and finance and waste and circularity, separating those gives them a little more priority. It's like.
In other words, making that a sixth bucket.
It could be actually, could be
Or it could be
better,
seven, yeah.
Seven,
Yeah.
seven, yeah.
right? See what they, don't say about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we feel good about that? Bad about that?
The only thing is, again, getting back to the governance is kind of inherent in all the categories, isn't it really? Like governance is inherent in every one of the buckets already.
Well, I guess the question is, are there actions in there that we wanna take on as climate actions in the next 5 years? And beyond.
And like, for example, if there was a policy like the new one that wanted to be proposed. Is that something that just sits under one of those pillars, or can governance be part of the goal to create, you know? Whatever it is, be a part of the governance pillar or element.
Right. I don't know.
Would you consider combining governance and finance with education and leadership?
That was the other one.
There's some
Thank you
sort
for
of a-
bringing that up. Yeah, because I think
Category?
that was the one I forgot about, and here I am.
That's an existing category, education and leadership?
It's not, and that's something that's in here or in the homework and was called out, and that I think cuts across too. And
Yeah.
we're doing it, right? Free home tours, and there's it in the library. I know that Emily Smith, the head of the library, is very much, they do a ton of education work and feel strongly about it. But I think that cuts across as well. So, maybe it is leadership, maybe it's leadership and finance instead of governance.
I mean, it's kind of could be a little bit of a hodgepodge of stuff as long as it sort of hangs together. I would think governance, finance and education is kind of are important things. They're gonna be hard to quantify, in terms of some sort of greenhouse gas savings or something, but they're, it kind of the catch-all.
See, the leadership, I think, is key on these.
Yeah.
And I know, I've worked for organizations where part of individual employees' performance review had an environmental element to it, a sustainable, which I thought was really great, that everybody had to be reviewed on that, so that's kind of like a leadership aspect.
And when I hear leadership, I'm thinking about, leadership in town and also,
As a model.
being example that we can, give to other places, because that's really where it matters.
Absolutely. So can we, in the interest of time and the rest of our climate action resilience plan discussion, can we memorialize Catherine to kind of, clean up our thinking and put into words to give to Shannon, to give to the consultants?
Yeah, and you were
Our thinking
taking
on
notes,
that.
yeah, that on a sheet that I have, or can-
I can send it to you, yeah.
Does that sound good to everybody? Great, let's move on then to our draft community engagement plan and other Weston and Sampson updates. I also want to acknowledge we're joined by a kindergartner who wants to learn more about our climate. Hi, Parker.
Very cool.
Okay, so just quickly looking at the timeline graphic, we are sort of moving into the stakeholder engagement phase. So we also, along with your worksheets, ask for you all to submit some community stakeholders. So the consultants, I've been dropping those into a spreadsheet, which they are going to finish mapping. And once they finish mapping those, what they were currently doing, and you know, I don't think this is super critical if we wind up changing the plan elements, but currently they're mapping them under the plan elements. And if they fall in one place or multiple places, they're adding them to that element each time. So for the community engagement plan right now, pretty much all that's left blank is finalizing the stakeholder interviews, exactly who they're going to be with. The last time we met with Weston and Sampson, they also made a good point that there will be better times to touch base with some stakeholders and others, and some we may want to follow up with twice. Like, I think our first stakeholder meeting that we'll have is with what we're just calling like a core staff group to touch base with throughout the project.
Yeah, so regarding the stakeholders, I didn't send you my list, I had one stakeholder on the list, but it's all very opaque to me. You have the list. It would be helpful if we can look at the list
Sure.
to know what we're adding to. Cause I don't know who the, you know, if when you keep a spreadsheet, you can share it. And say, you know, here's the list, and, you know, it's kind of like hoping we'd have read access to some of the stuff that's getting transmitted to Western Sampson.
Yeah, I think when the stakeholder mapping is done too, we'll definitely share that with you all so you can
Well, when
see.
it's done, then we can't contribute further. If it's,
Sure,
We can
so I
click
can
it.
share what we have now, but you can't edit it.
right, that's fine.
Yeah,
That would help us.
Yeah.
We could identify, is there somebody missing, rather than like kind of list all the people we know.
Because in listing people is, we gotta track down their email address or phone numbers, so it's some work.
yeah, to be honest, I don't know if we need their, like, I think the original idea Brad asked was to include contact information, so Shelley did like give me an email address for the people that she submitted. But Brad submitted by far the most comprehensive list, but no contact information. So right now, we pretty much have, we do have a very large list, but there's no contact information. Do we need contact information for every single person on there? I don't know. I don't necessarily feel like that's the best use of time unless someone feels,
Well, if we have it, we add it,
yeah, right.
because you can't interview them if you can't contact them.
Yeah, but like for some of the boards and committees, like I don't think we're going to be pulling personal email address for every town board and committee. Is I think what I'm
Yeah, so you would keep it at the chair level.
yes.
Okay,
But that does bring up a point, because I think, did you see the, was it to you or Megan, there's somebody who wanted to send something about land use. Which actually, I'll table it, but I was gonna invite that as like, where does that fit into plans? But, couldn't find how to send it to the chair of the land use committee, so send it to Megan or you. CC'd me just because he asked me and I was like, I don't have his address. But, you know, it seems like that can get lost in the ether, I guess is the point. So how do we make sure that
Right.
things are getting to the right place and citizen voices are being heard? Sorry.
What is the way that MCI Concord's advisory committee resolve this? Because they have a very long stakeholder list.
I mean, pretty much one person mostly worked on it. So I think that's how it was resolved. Pretty much, John Boynton was the person leading the community engagement for that group, and he owned the spreadsheet and made the spreadsheet. I helped with some of the town, like departments and committees, but it was pretty much just John. I will share the list.
Okay.
I'm going to continue. So what we were saying was like some stakeholders we may want to reach out to before the draft list of actions are identified, and also some, again, after an example, CMLP. So then being able to touch base with them on how we would implement some of the actions on there. I'm just looking over my notes to see if there's anything else. Oh, we are looking to, I think by the next time we meet, we will have a date set for our first broader community engagement session, which will be in early May. So I will give you the date as soon as we have it, once we land on that. Another update is that they are working on putting together the project webpage, which is going to be built in ArcGIS, which is a platform that the town already has access to, and we will continue having access to it. So when the project's done, this is something that Megan and I will be able to take over working on. And I would say that is about it. Just to quickly remind the group that Brad emailed you all about, we'll be looking to schedule an additional meeting between now and the April meeting to focus on the parking lot ideas.
Do we actually want to knock out the scheduling on that right now?
I was looking at a date that looked good on our end, and I know the last time we had one of these like special meetings, it was a Monday during the day. Does a Monday day work well for people? Looking at April 6th.
Usually,
What time?
Megan and I are clear pretty much all day.
That's the day after Easter.
Yes. Last time what we did was we had like a noontime meeting. I don't know if that's something that works well for you all, but
I would have to leave by 2, but I've got the whole day free.
I think we'd like it to be an hour discussion, maybe 90 minutes at the very most. So yeah, we'd be looking at April 6th, 12 to 1:30, call it 1:30, but really hoping for it to be 1 hour tight. That works for everybody?
I'll be a little bit late, but it works for me.
We can push it later. What works best for you?
12:15,
12:15 to
12:30 would be better.
12:30 to 2. That and what we're really gonna be trying to do is 12:30 to 1:30.
yeah.
All right, I'll get an agenda posted quickly on that. And it will be limited to what is in the parking lot at the time that I post the agenda. So if you've got other thoughts that you're ruminating on for the parking lot, get them in fast.
Okay, and we, I know we talked about updating, everything that we sent so far should be in the worksheets that we.
Everything that you have sent so far that is not included in the worksheets will be the scope of this meeting. It's like 3 things, 3 or 4 things.
And is the sense that we have 50 things in the parking lot, we're gonna start with thing number 1 and.
We're trying to, between the worksheet exercise and this special meeting, clear the parking lot entirely. because Weston and Sampson have expressed that it would be very helpful if at some point we kind of cut off new ideas. So this is our good faith effort to really get in our good ideas.
Okay, into their action list.
Yeah, and of
But-
course, if you wanna park the car later, we can park the car later. It may never just get unparked in time for this climate
Right.
action plan.
Do we want to take each, and so this is where we, as a group, talk about thing number 3 and decide whether it's going into the plan or not.
Ideally, that is the goal, yes.
And like, I don't know if I don't want you all to feel like you're not gonna have another opportunity to weigh in, because I don't think that's correct. Like, they're just asking for a point of no new ideas so they can understand the group's priorities, I would say. And they're gonna come back to this group in April with a list of draft actions that won't be finalized until the end of June.
Right.
So there's still going to be time to weigh in. I think it's just,
I just wanted to know what the sense of the discussion is going to be, how that's going.
And just as a clarifying point, I think some of the parking lot ideas are everything from, encourage some big giant thing to install balcony solar policy, like. And some of them are prescriptive and action oriented, and some are more like encourage, which is a little more mushy. So. And we can do all of that, but in terms of what would be helpful for Weston and Sampson to put pen to paper. What is their preference in terms of scope direction?
I don't know that I have a great answer to that at the moment. I can ask them that at our next
I
check-in.
love the idea of us just throwing everything in the kitchen sink and then figuring it out.
Yeah, and like, I don't think that that's how the plan is going to wind up. I
No.
think that, a really great reason why we hired them is to help us prioritize, based on what some of the ideas and recommendations from the group were, but I think that they'll be able to be a neutral voice in telling us what they think is really going to make the biggest difference. So that's sort of what I see, but I'll ask that at our next check-in too, what they say.
They weren't very prescriptive at the last meeting when we met them, so I think that was, intentional, so that we would feel free flowing with ideas. And I like that. I just wanna
Yeah.
make sure we're not.
Yeah, I also know, for the April meeting, I think they're planning to put together, a couple of outlines for a plan for you all to react to, so that would be good too.
Good.
Any other discussion on this?
So you're gonna be kind of like organizing it and sort of not making it conceptually kind of together for that meeting, or what do you call that?
So we are gonna get you a very specific agenda of the things that we'd like you to think about and come with fully formed thoughts about.
Yeah.
So that we can have an orderly and
Okay,
efficient discussion, because I think there will be things that like one of us has suggested as something that should be in the plan, but none of the rest of us have really given
yeah,
detailed thought on. So I'm gonna try to get you a draft agenda as quickly as I can. Could take a few days, but once that happens, I think the prompt is gonna be really kind of dig in on thinking about it as soon as you see the draft agenda. So I'll do my best, and of course, if there are any questions about the agenda, open meeting law allows us to discuss what we're discussing, as long as we don't get into the why of it in an email thread. That's
right,
perfectly fine and good.
okay.
I have a quick question, about the time commitment for stakeholders. Like, how much time is being asked of the stakeholder groups, representatives?
I think that's also going to depend on the groups that are chosen, and since they haven't been finalized yet, I'm not sure, like, I think we'll be tapping into staff more frequently, maybe just because it's easy for me to be able to reach out to a group that I'm working with on these projects, but I can't say for certain what we're thinking for maybe let's say Mothers Out Front, if they're chosen as like one of the stakeholders that they want to interview, but I think they're probably going to be focused one-off interviews with community groups, so maybe an hour. I'll follow up on that next time we check in too, though.
Yeah, first of all, I apologize for being late. I have a question about process. So, as Shannon and Megan knows, I started going through the list, okay? And, I really couldn't judge whether something was, highly urgent or urgent, or whatever.
Sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
you're talking specifically about the worksheets.
Yeah, the worksheets here. So, because, I know, I mean, to me, everything's urgent, right? Everything's highly urgent.
That's what I felt about it too.
And so, I was hoping the consultant would be saying, look, we've done this analysis and we find that, we're really, what some of our major problems are, blah, 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 blah. So I just couldn't feel, I didn't, in good faith, in honesty, I couldn't answer the questions because I have no way to judge, the relative weight of these things. And I hope in the other stakeholder engagement, it just won't be asked people what they think. I think, obviously this plan has to be driven from the bottom up by the, community residents, the community. But I think they've got to be, the consultants, but giving us some information on the magnitude of the problems. So, I don't know how other people feel about that.
Right.
And the other question is, I didn't understand what the integration was, and I've tried to follow this process pretty quickly. I didn't understand where it said, where could they be integrated? So, what did that mean?
I agree. I had that same comment. I don't know if you saw that. I didn't understand that section.
Ideas for integration, I think, means like in the existing elements of the plan, who did you see potentially owning that action? If it's something
So
that
related to the existing plan.
Yeah,
Not everybody.
I think that, or like, and it, we've been saying, and I don't think this is finalized, that like we were thinking of keeping the same plan elements. How would you see this implemented in one of those plan elements moving forward? Is it an action that CMLP needed to follow up on? Something like
So
that,
it's integration to the existing plan.
or the new,
Yeah,
or the
there
new.
were different, if you did the drop down, it was like, is this an
Yeah.
existing plan, is this a new, action? Is this a sub action of a new action, is it a sub action of an existing action, is it a new action? And there was like 6 different choices, it was confusing, but it was sort of calling out whether this is something that's completely new. Or is this something building on an existing action, it's
Okay.
basically.
Yeah, see, I didn't make that connection with the whole plan.
I understand.
So,
Well, and in terms of how to prioritize stuff all being urgent. It has something to do with how much money and how much effort it takes, and the fact that we don't have infinite amount of, manpower.
But I need to know something about the baseline. Like if this building only had single pane windows from 1880. That's very different than having, triple pane windows in 2025. I just don't know that baseline. So,
I think in regard to this particular exercise. It would be really good to download your whatever level of detail thinking you're able to share. I think it's gotta get in pretty quickly. And don't sweat feeling a need to fill out the whole thing, because everybody except for you and I has done the thing. So they're really just waiting on us at this point. So, get in what you can.
yeah,
So that it can, so that your thinking on this can be integrated as well. And it's fine to say, I've got this in a lot of the fields of on my sheets. I don't know enough to have an opinion about this. I'm hoping TAC does. or I'm hoping that somebody else does. I've said that in a number of places.
So there is I'm looking to pull down menu, I don't remember it all, but there was a thing, like, I don't know.
I think that I put, I don't know. in
Yeah,
that
you
place.
can just type into
Okay.
the box
I think,
too.
I would just say that there's two columns where there's pull down. I think those are less important because that's sort of like, where does this plug in? And that's what we're hiring a consultant to do. I don't think you wanna spend your mental energy trying to figure it out, especially because you don't have a baseline and where. But the justification and the barriers for somebody who doesn't live in this community, maybe doesn't understand the community context as much as you do. You know, to the extent that you feel comfortable and feel like you have an opinion and expertise in it, I would focus on the narrative under justification and barriers, because I think that's gonna give them, you know, a little bit more meat. You know, that, to me, that's where I think our expertise in our committee really can add value. That's my perspective.
Okay, so explain to me again the integration thing. Integrate into the new plan or
Right,
the old plan or,
because if it's an action that was already in the existing plan,
okay,
it's just continuing that work.
okay.
But if it's something that was never even in the other plan, then it's a completely new action.
Yeah, you have to have the,
Yeah.
outline with all the actions and steps open, you know, side by side.
From the old plan.
Because basically it's the old plan and a worksheet, right?
But I guess-
So each action and each step has a little block. And it, you know, that's the question is how does it fit into that, integrate into that old framework?
I just think that given the timeliness of the need, I would hate to spend all that energy trying to figure that stuff out versus putting your mind into like, why is this justified? Why is this important? You know, what might be some barriers? You know,
Diffusion of responsibility is usually a bad thing, but in this particular instance, rely on everybody else to have figured it out.
I'll try to get done, I'll try to get done by Friday. Hopefully.
I want to note that we're at our time contract for talking about the resilience plan. So I don't want to cut off any valuable discussion, but I would like to move on in a timely fashion. Go ahead.
With apologies for that, I was a little unclear when you were talking about the meeting that we're gonna set up for the parking lot. I saw a parking lot, version of the parking lot, you know, like a Word document that had just a couple lines in it. I know some of us had spat out paragraphs of text. Are we starting from just the one liner that this is the topic and let's all discuss it? Or are you asking those of us who are sort of like the sponsor of the parking lot item to make a presentation or improve our text that we'd circulated earlier, or what are we starting with?
I don't have a full sentence answer for you.
You can answer that.
So I sent that that sheet to you, that one pager, that was also what I was sharing at the start of this meeting to show Catherine's ideas. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total ideas on there that in discussing the worksheets with Weston and Sampson, we felt like these didn't fit super easily into the worksheets and required broader committee discussion. So that is what is left on the worksheets. Or on the parking lot. So I will send that document out with the calendar invite for that meeting, so everyone can see where we're starting. at
That short
meeting.
version.
Yeah, everything else that people sent, we integrated into the worksheets.
But on those topics, if there's more material, is it useful for people to have read that in advance? Or for those of us who are sort of raising an issue, should we expect that 5 or 10 minutes of wasting everybody's time bringing them up to speed on that?
I think that the expectation for this, for this coming meeting and really for any meeting at this board is if you've got the explanatory material available to you, send it to us and expect us to read it. And we can all do a better job of actually reading the meeting packets. So we should be doing that. Speaking of which, I'm sure everybody has seen Ms. Benson's slide presentation already because it's in your meeting packet.
Yeah.
And it's time to hear from Ms. Benson on presentation and discussion on Article 42 on composting.
Yeah. Do you want me to share your slides on the Zoom?
Oh yeah, that would be amazing, thank you.
Go ahead, whenever you're.
Hello, first of all, I apologize for being late. I'm Ileana Benson. I attend Concord Carlisle High School and representing the Sunrise Club and proposing this article. Our article that we're proposing is to urge the town to adopt and negotiate a ratepayer plan. Ms. Benson and Ms. Carter move that the town take affirmative action on Article 42 as printed in the warrant. Next slide, please. Thank you. So basically 21% of Massachusetts landfill content is food waste, and composting lowers greenhouse gas emissions by lowering landfill methane emissions. With large-scale composting for our entire towns and counties, we can drastically reduce the amount of food waste in landfills and therefore reduce greenhouse gas emissions from landfills. Next slide, please. The main problem is the capacity. For in landfills, all in-state landfill sites are projected to be at capacity by 2030. Concord has an existing goal of a 30% organics reduction in the waste stream by 2030. It's in both the Climate Action and Resilience Plan and the Mass DEP Solid Waste Master Plan. On our current trajectory, Concord will probably fail to meet this goal. Outside of private vendors, Concord has no alternate organic waste disposal available at this moment through the town.
I had a question about this. I was under the impression that we were incinerating and not landfilling. Are we landfilling our waste now?
The town serves it, all goes to Fitchburg.
Okay,
Going to landfill. I thought it was being considered too.
I confirmed that with the, Justine St. John.
Right.
DPW.
For commercial, we have current commercial ban on over half ton per week maximum. And this is gonna be extended to 100% ban by 2028 by the state. And but at the residential level, there's gonna be an implementation of a 100% ban by 2030. So commercial organic waste producers must develop composting plans by 2030. All restaurants in Concord will be using composting by then. If the town does the ratepayer system, it's going to help local businesses financially and support them in going green. There's some more statistics on financial benefits. Next slide, please. Thank you. So basically, the ratepayer system that we're proposing, citizens can opt into the plan, savings, recycling, or trash. The town negotiates a lower rate town-wide so that composting will be more affordable and accessible to residents. And then the composting service will take care of all customer service interactions, so it puts less pressure on the town to take care of that. They'll have pre-existing infrastructure and resources. We're essentially asking the town to outsource composting, so that way it's just easier for people to sign up for it, and it makes it cheaper and more accessible. Next slide, please. This statistics is wrong. We have another one that we updated it with. There's about 670 households out of around 6,500 participating Black Earth Compost in Concord. We're already at the maximum density discount for that. The next step for the town would be to negotiate a lower rate with Black Earth as signed benchmarks are met. So basically, if we make the cost of composting lower, it makes it more accessible. Again, more affordable to residents, more people signing up, and it will have a bigger impact on the environment. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the benefits to ratepayer for the residents: reduce garbage and solid waste costs, which is charged by the ton, also known as tipping fees. So basically, since garbage and solid waste, it's charged by the ton, and composting is not. It's just charged no matter how much weight you have of it. So this would be around $25 per year saved in Bedford. It's predicted to be about $18.31 saved per year in Concord. There'll be, again, increased accessibility through lower costs and easier transitions. Higher signups lead to lower greenhouse gas emissions. Current average household organic waste generation is 8 pounds per week. Without composting, is equivalent to creating 4,298 tons of CO2 per year, which is a lot, as you know. Next slide, please. Basically, what we're doing is we're offering the town a sort of wide enough scope with the article that they can go through a minimalist or expanded contract with Black Earth Composting or any other composting vendor. They can do it through a vendor contract locked in discounted rates and a volunteer effort to increase subscribers, or they can do it more expanded. So we're essentially urging the town to look into it, to see what's possible, and then do as much as they can with it, in the most beneficial way for both the townspeople and for the environment. Next slide, please. So that basically some other examples of them, Ally, if you want to. Please.
In Bedford, they already do this, and it is a public-private partnership. So that takes off the load that the Concord department has to do. And Black Earth handles all of the customer service functions, but, the Concord would handle cart maintenance and broken parts.
Next slide, please.
And because of the grant that you can apply for, in Bedford, they put that money back to the water bills of the participating residents, and Concord would also apply for this grant money.
Yeah, so basically there's a lot of grant money available, and then Evan, if you want to come here, sorry, we probably should have explained this better.
Could I just ask first, are you saying that these examples are all things that your proposal would consider for Concord?
Yeah, so we're asking Concord, town of Concord to do a cost benefit analysis, and then these are just examples of what other towns in the area are doing, that they can 100% consider as options.
Thank you.
And then,
This slide or next slide?
next slide, please, thank you.
Additionally, we could get grants and supplies. One option would be, Mass Department Sustainable Materials Recovery Program. They've awarded, 350,000, in grants, to towns over the past 10 years. And this could include, education, curb pickup, or, food bin waste. And this could also cover many different town containers like kitchen counter buckets, curb wheel carts, and compost bins.
Oh, thank you. So those are just some other club members that, because since we all worked on this action together. And other than that, next slide, please. Thank you. So potential resources needed from the town. These are all potential resources needed, I'd like to know. So the town can do cost benefit analysis and determine what is actually required in order to make this happen. That would most likely be completed by Concord Public Works. And through that, they might see that we need a request for proposals or RFP, an enterprise fund, which we can also get grants for, as previously noted. And also starter kit management could be something that they should consider, but can also be part of the contract with composting companies, so that way the composting company can handle all of the starter kit management. Next slide, please. So we recognize that Concord Department of Public Works has many ongoing projects and are really grateful for the work already being done to protect the environment. We believe that this can be undertaken with minimal resources and supplies and have a huge impact on doing everything we can to help the environment. And then next slide. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Could I just thank you guys? I take it you're all high school students?
Yeah.
I'm blown away. Thank you very much for taking the time to do all this work and coming and talking to us.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening.
I have a question on, people who are voluntarily composting. Do you guys have any idea how many households or?
Yeah, we do. I believe it was
607.
yeah, 600.
Oh, that was the 600. I thought that was the people Black Earth.
That's the Black Earth.
Yeah,
What if you're just composting in your own house?
we can't really. It's pretty difficult to find that statistic because it's not really something we can get with. We could probably put out like a form and try and ask around town, but it's pretty difficult to get that.
Well, most of the people who compost around town got their bins from the town. So I mean,
Ask them, yeah.
there's some information.
Some of us are DIYers.
I'm a DIY.
Yeah.
You would be.
But the 607 out of about 6,500 total households in town. So we're looking at a little bit less than 10% adoption of Black Earth. Some unknown number of people who are composting with a worm bin or some other thing in their yard.
Yeah.
We should really figure out what that market segment is.
Right.
And that was one of the things that we learned from the first phase of the composting pilot, right? Is we really don't know who where the need is. So this was a point of discussion. On the March 11th, meeting at DPW, or at the Public Works Commission, right? Some people were asking whether town staff should be in the middle trying to figure these kinds of questions out. Do you have a point of view on who the appropriate people are to be asking these questions? And I know you don't want us to say that you should do it, but if the answer back from people is that you should do it, would you be prepared to do market research on this?
I mean, our club is really heavy, like sort of dead set on this, so I think that we would 100% be interested in trying to get that done. The one problem may be that we need to figure out how to do it and how to reach that many people, but I'm sure it's definitely possible for our club to do that if it comes down to that.
No question, why would that matter? I'm just curious, because there's a lot of people in town who don't use town waste. They either take their trash to Acton or whatever and don't actually hire service at all, or they hire a private service, but we still offer as a town waste management.
Right.
And I don't think we track the data of people opting out of town waste.
So, we do track, that is tracked.
Well, because we know the households that do it, so we know the
Yeah.
households that aren't. Well, we could do the same thing, we probably could find out that households through Black Earth that are doing curbside composting.
Oh, yeah.
And so then we know the households that are able to, and I guess the reason I say that is because I compost myself, but I also am a Black Earth customer. I don't think it's a zero sum game. I think that if you educate people, you know, maybe you're a vegetarian and you don't eat lots of meat and cheese and bones, but Black Earth is industrial sized composting. I can put paper towels, paper plates, and meat and cheese and bones, and I barely throw anything away. Which I can't put all those things in backyard composting. So I just think that we need to make sure there's some educational component to that market research and how we're asking, and not just thinking it's a black and white either or situation. I think some people who actually backyard compost might decide that's all I want and all I need, and I don't want to pay for an extra service, but there may be some people, we have a lot of people who care about this stuff. That really care about waste diversion and the environment, and you know, that would actually do both. So I just want to be cautious about how we set up this task.
It sounded to me during the public hearing and also at the Public Works Commission that there is a lot of concern about what is the price point going to be. And in a way, that's a bit of an unanswerable question, because the petitioners are agnostic about what model to use, right?
Yeah.
So if we do it one way, it's gonna cost one thing. If we do it another way, it's gonna cost another thing. And so the why does it matter is we're trying to figure out an efficacious model for scaling composting so that the whole town can be diverting compostable material from the waste stream. And what is the wisest option from this menu of options that the petitioners are gonna walk people through at town meeting? Well, we don't know, because we don't know how many people are currently composting in town. I compost in my backyard. I'm not gonna pay Black Earth to do it, because I do it, right? Am I gonna be willing to pay a fee for a townwide municipal pickup system? Maybe I'll be an aggrieved party because I don't need that. I can do it in my backyard, so maybe I want to pay for it. Or
But if you, but you don't pay for my trash either, do you? No, isn't it right? It's maybe I'm
That's-
side review.
that's a ratepayer system, yeah.
Yeah.
But, and they, you know, in this presentation, they're saying, why do a ratepayer system? So that this would be an opt-in system,
Right,
but that's not the only available option to us. We
I
could
see.
have potentially a townwide system.
right.
And if you really want to scale composting at some point in the future, we, you know, to get absolutely everything out of the trash, we may need to have some kind of townwide model, right? So the answers to these questions about market segment, I believe matter for that reason.
Yeah, no, it certainly matters. Does it matter for being able to pass? What would we be, so I'm confused, so if this goes to town meeting, we're voting on a particular model, or you're agnostic, so it's up to the town to decide?
They are urging the town to decide.
Yeah,
Okay.
we are urging the town to decide, and part of the article is that we're urging them to consider it and to see what would be the best. Based on what the Public Works says, based on what all the other committees might say. We're hoping to get them to do a cost benefit analysis and to see which one would be the most efficient, which one would help the most people, and it seems like at this point that ratepayers may be the best considering, because often, and we know that there's a lot of demand, but we don't have those numbers that you said. And I do think that those numbers would be important to have, they're just a bit difficult to get.
Can you show the presentation says, we want you to vote what's on the warrant, but I gotta find the text that's actually in the warrant.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's the thing I haven't seen.
And are we thinking that our discussion will conclude tonight with a vote on whether to support this article?
That's up to you.
I think we should.
Do you want to phrase that in the form of a motion?
I don't know if that's timely. We're still having a discussion.
Okay.
It would be a debatable motion, so you can make a motion anytime you feel.
So this is urging the town to adopt a negotiated ratepayer composting plan. That beyond the cost benefit analysis.
Yeah, the cost benefit analysis is under the language of the article, that's like the main thing, we've had edits since, but yes, that is the initial language of the article.
And beyond the economics, in terms of what the town would be responsible for, because this is a fully built out commercial enterprise that has its own infrastructure and staff and everything.
Yeah.
Is literally just the bin management, which I know might sound like a headache, but having been a Black Earth customer for 6 years, I've never ever had a problem with my bin, there's never been an issue. It's got a snap, it's getting a bear to come and knock it over. It's way more secure than our current garbage and recycling bins. So if that, I just want to repeat what I heard, but that would be basically what we're asking DPW to do, it's just someone has a problem with bin, they have to deal with it, but they don't really have to do anything else. 'Cause the Black Earth,
They don't even have to do that,
Oh.
because that
Is
is,
Black Earth
yeah,
does that.
Black Earth handles all customers.
So can you just, sorry, I know you mentioned this, but just so that people are clear, because I think that would be a big concern, right? Is what is it that town staff will be needing to do?
Yeah, so the main thing that we're asking town staff to do is to find out what is the best way to do this, what is the best plan, like you said, expanded or at a narrow scope, like which is the best way to go about this through a cost benefit analysis. And then to negotiate it, if once they have decided that, to negotiate it with Black Earth or another composting vendor. And to fit through an RPF like Bedford did or another way, again, it's up to the town. And once it's negotiated, Black Earth would handle all customer interactions. They would handle basically all like initial signups. Starter kit management, I believe, may also be able to be handled by them. In other towns, it can be or it cannot be. It depends on the town. So yeah, that's basically an overview of what we're asking.
So there's sort of an initial startup cost to getting it in place, but after that, Black Earth is really
Well,
what you're interfacing with as a residential customer. You're not having to necessarily
What is?
call DPW if they miss a pickup. You're calling Black Earth.
yes, and then also there are many grants available for the initial startup costs too.
And who's doing the billing and management? Is the vendor? doing
Yeah,
the billing
Black-
clients?
Or any,
Because
or
when you say a ratepayer plan, a lot of people think it's that you're asking the town to put a ratepayer plan, because that's how we refer to our existing composting, it's a rate-based plan that town administers.
I
So
see.
you should be crystal clear,
Yeah,
your expectation is the vendor's managing everything.
yeah, I think that's really an important.
Right.
Because I think there's a lot of
Put the thing on
misconceptions.
the Screen so that we know what we're.
The town of Bedford has that
I can
rebate,
share the warrant article on the screen.
is that an activity that Concord would be doing as well? Giving a rebate for people who are
No.
participating?
Yeah, I'm just gonna
I
share my
think-
screen grab.
Because that would be a town function.
yes, that particular instance, they had enough grants that they were able to refund people through their water bills, I believe. Because they had from the starting costs. I think that they said that might be better to find another way to do that. So that was is sort of unique to Bedford, and there are other alternates, so there's ways that we could do that.
What they found was that 47% of the black bin waste was then put in the green bin waste. And that saved the town money. It would be the townspeople in our case, because they're more of a tax-based funded, not enterprise fund. And that money that was saved was included, I think, covering their bins for each client. And they gave $10 back. And so that was a way to get people to sign up for 1 month. And it would only cost them a total of, I think, $2. So it was a way for people to at least get going and see if this is something for them.
Yeah, a couple of comments. First of all, thank you, Club, very much. It's
Thank
an
you,
important topic. Landfills are big sources of greenhouse gases, which is causing all sorts of problems. So it's certainly part of this committee's interest. I have a couple of questions. This is sort of inspired by your comment that you've almost zero waste. This is really a solid waste question. And I compost, some of my stuff, the vegetables and stuff like that, but I'm not doing paper, I'm not doing other products. And so I'd probably be like you, I would have the Black Earth and I would have my own stuff. And it seems to me the town should be moving towards that model. And like right now, we pay a flat rate for waste management to pick up our trash a year. So there's no incentive for me to cut down my waste.
Yeah.
And it used to be you paid by the bag, but now it's like free good almost. It is free good essentially. So I think you might want to think about this a little bit in a larger context of how do we get to almost zero solid waste in this town? And so maybe this is a step towards that, but I think that should be the goal. And I think you've shown how to do it.
Yeah, well, I will say, I lived in California for 20 years, and this is just a no-brainer. I mean, it's law.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the textile law. You can't throw clothes in the garbage, you can't throw produce in the garbage, So, it was very instituted. So when I moved here, it felt very bizarre to me. But to your point, right, there's perverse incentives. I might not throw away anything. I'm still paying $500 a year for my trash.
Right.
But you might have your trash bin filled every week and throwing away all sorts of stuff that you shouldn't be throwing away. And there's no fine, there's no oversight, there's no incentive for you to not throw away everything. And so we do need, I agree, I'm glad that you made that comment, because this is one part of that, and why I brought up the initial thing around waste and circularity and all of that. It's all part of a larger context of how we throw things away in our town and our country.
And that's something that can be handled on a municipal level.
Yeah.
And we also should give incentives to people to do it at home, like most of us do here.
Yeah.
And then the rest just goes to Black Earth. And the other, so I think, I don't know how we organize a larger discussion, but the other thing is, what happens to the composted products of Black Earth? Like, are they packaged and sold, or what happens to the stuff that's composted?
That's a good question, you know what?
You get it back from them, I think.
Yeah,
Did they mean like every year you get like a dividend of?
Yes.
Yeah.
you get one.
You get
bag.
free compost.
How big is that? Like,
I've never, I just donated
My
mine.
yard
You
of
can-
compost, I think, maybe.
No, I have a question that I'm not actually going to ask, but I'm just gonna make a comment and you can answer the question. I'm a doggo,
yeah,
and a good fraction of my waste that goes in the trash can comes from the dog. Does that go to Black Earth?
No, animals.
You could be composting that now, though, with a little bit of septic starter and a sacrifice zone in your yard. If you wanted to be a really responsible steward of our environment, you could do that.
No, they don't collect any animal waste, hair products, or like things with germs on it.
Blood, yeah.
Yeah, blood, yeah.
but like, well, like bones,
Bones, yes.
Bones, yes, popsicle sticks,
Yes.
paper towels that don't have chemicals
How about
on
like
them.
pizza boxes?
They used to, but I think they've stopped.
But you can recycle those now, I'm pretty sure. you can
Yes,
recycle those,
yes.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, it's new, because they didn't tell us that,
Yeah,
yeah. But no, I think it's a large solid
But
waste.
I think they do sell their compost, but they also, you have an option as a customer to donate your bag to community gardens,
Yeah,
which is what I always had done, cause sometimes in
I
our.
want it back. No, it's one more thing, but, oh yes, look, is this in the climate action plan? This idea of,
Waste reduction is right,
Yeah,
you
waste-
cited the waste reduction goal, but I don't think the pilot, I think, was in the plan, right?
so I think it'd be in our plan? Like,
Yes,
man, we should really emphasize that, because that's,
Only
but it needs to go in the parking lot first, right?
If it's in the worksheets
Yeah,
on.
it's already there.
Is it? Yeah, all right.
highly urgent.
All right, so I move we support this at town meeting.
Can we,
Although I do wanna know what ratepayer composting plan means, because I think it might
Yeah.
sound like something you don't mean, but I'm sure you could solve that in town meeting clarification.
if I can, ask for your indulgence in trying to clean up that motion a little bit.
Thank you.
You're moving to urge affirmative action on Article 42 as printed in the warrant.
Correct.
with the word will changed to,
Well, that's not part of the motion. We'll talk about that in a
and you
minute.
can't change
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so you want them to define their terms, right?
Yeah.
So
I
let's talk
assume
about
they
that.
will do that between now and town meetings presentations.
Yeah, of course. We will look at that.
That fits under anything relative there too.
We would love your guidance.
Are we assuming that the negotiated rate would be less than if we just go to unearth ourselves?
Yeah, we have the statistics for how much they, we're already at the maximum density discount. So in other towns, it's much lower than the maximum density discount.
It's about 10%.
Okay, so that there is an advantage for it.
So the question of to urge the town will adopt, I mean, the,
This is the warrant article, this
Yeah.
is not the motion.
this is not the motion. If that were to be the wording of the motion, though, I mean, what is your?
This is the
intention for how you're
motion.
gonna- Okay,
It's essentially the same thing.
this is gonna be the motion to urge the town to adopt and negotiate a repair program. There's something missing there.
That was what we said.
Share the.
Oh, sorry.
I can't share multiple screens at once, so hang on.
I think will is
There-
to be to adopt, right?
That's in the warrant article, and once that's submitted, you can't change that.
Okay.
So that's one. Now. Share the presentation that had the motion.
So there's some missing word in this slide.
Yeah, I believe,
There we go.
yes, I believe that's, is that the motion we submitted? I believe that is a motion we submitted, to urge the town to adopt and negotiate a rate pair, and then on Article 42 as printed in the warrant, and then the warrant is as you previously showed.
Does that clear up any concerns anybody has about will adopt? That's not gonna be in the motion.
We have since clarified, under the article explanation and in our slideshow as well, what we are, they're more asking for them to consider and to complete a cost benefit analysis and such.
Any other discussion or questions?
I'd just like to comment that there are, as you said, commercial customers in town who are either complying or not complying with the 1/2 a ton a week. And you mentioned that that'll get tightened up soon.
Yes.
So I think it would be worth engaging some of those customers who might be interested in having this approach. Perhaps because it's cheaper for them, I'm not sure. But I think that the town should understand that it's not just individual homeowners, but there's a lot of waste being generated in restaurants and schools and institutions.
The school's actually all compost.
Yeah,
They
they're
do.
all composting available, it's, we're working on getting more popular, but it's a bit definitely available. Would you suggest, to engaging commercial businesses, would you, suggest putting that into the slideshow, some statistic about that or anything relating to that?
I don't have a specific suggestion, but I just think it's good that it's there.
Thank you.
And the law that's coming down from the state of Massachusetts is for commercial or for,
So we have,
what is that exactly? So-
it's both in commercial and residential. It'll be 100% banned by 2030 for, I believe that's for 100% banned by 2030 for residential and 100% banned for commercial by 2028. So it's 2 years earlier for commercial than residential.
The residential, has that been decided at this point? My understanding was that that was just still proposed and,
In the legislature.
well, it's at DEP.
I believe it was in a post by the Mass DEP. I'm not 100% sure if it's been moved yet, but I believe
Proposed.
that's what happens.
But this is the second time that this has been on the table at DEP. I remember about 10, 15 years ago, this was on the table, and I had mistakenly, I think I said in a meeting at one point that that they had passed that. This is the second time the DEP has been looking at this to ban it entirely in the residential trash. So
Yeah.
it's coming at some point, whether it's for 2030 or not.
Another factor to that is that all in-state landfills are going to be they're projected to be at capacity by 2030. So if as Concord's currently sending the waste to landfills, it will be far more expensive just with the travel costs after that. So that's even if it is proposed and if it is pushed back or something, this is 100% like something that is timely to move.
Before we call for any last comments or a vote, I would just like to ask, we've got 3 people on the Zoom who have not given full name information. If you have a reason not to identify yourself in the public room, that's fine. We would normally ask everybody in attendance to identify themselves for the minutes.
The settings turned off.
Okay, so you may not be able to change your name right now. But we would like to figure out who everybody is for the minutes. If you could, if you're not able to identify yourself in the chat, could you
Everything's
please?
turned off, Brad.
I would like those people who are in the room to email Shannon McAndrew with your name.
Is that important?
We have made a practice to identify attendees, and I'm asking them to identify themselves. They can choose whether or not they're gonna do that, but Shannon, could you tell them all right now your email address so that they can identify themselves for the
My
minutes?
email is smcandrew@concordma.gov.
And if we could also offline get everybody's name over to Brad here for the minutes. Is there any other discussion on this before we call for a vote? Hearing none, I think we would be in line for a vote. Those in favor, we had somebody get up, so we'll give it just a moment. Where'd he go?
What is what?
Bob just left.
Bob got up.
No.
We can vote for him. We're not allowed to do that.
There you go. We were just about to do a vote.
Someone understand with that one?
Sure.
Okay, Zoe Grenwitz, this for quotes.
Okay, got it. I see your last name.
Any further discussion from you?
No.
Okay, then we're in line for vote. Those in favor of the motion to endorse affirmative action on Article 42, please signify by raising your hand. Those opposed, please signify by raising their hand. It is unanimous, 1 abstention. We hereby endorse affirmative action on Article 42. Thank you.
Thank you.
So once it's done, man.
Shelley is
Recusing
recusing herself because she's
on the.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you.
You've never been part of the
Thank you so
fun.
much.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good work, job.
really
Great job.
excellent. Thank you
Great job.
to you guys too. Thank you so much. It was excellent.
So folks are welcome to stay and no offense will be taken. If your business is done and you want to get up, that's fine too. We are now in line for discussion on Article 25 of Conservation Fund bylaw. Just note the time that went a little bit longer than we were anticipating, so I'd like to have the rest of our action items today be crisp. I hope that people were able to, we do not have a presentation on Article 25. This is simply creating a conservation fund bylaw, the purpose of which would be subject to appropriation in Article 26 to have a slush fund available for conservation needs and to be able to react quickly should a parcel of land become available. Then NRC can buy it with the fund rather than have to wait for a town meeting to get money.
Right, now, how does this interact with the land trust, stuff like that?
Good question.
But I don't understand the article well enough. Like someone to present on it before.
Can't present on it before. Wendy, are you prepared to answer that question?
First of all, there's another article, is this 31?
This is 25.
There's one before, no, after it. There was a request at CPC for, I think it's 500,000 or 600,000 to be funded by CPC into this fund. The NRC by state law has the right to create a conservation fund. State law in and of itself. This bylaw is sort of putting some rules around it, and it obviously allows for the use of the funds by the NRC. The one thing that the bylaw also does, though, is requires that any purchase of land get presented and approved by the select board. Which that is consistent with a bylaw that we have for the housing authority, for the municipal affordable housing trust. When they buy land, they also come to the select board. So that's where the origin of trying to ask to come to the select board is. The NRC has a plan of conservation that identifies properties that they're interested in. And that's a plan they put together every 5 or 10 years or 7 to 10 years.
Right.
And the idea is that the land that they would be concerned about would be on that list.
And the town wants to own this land?
This would be land, no, so the NRC through the conservation group has identified properties that they are interested in, should they become available. And so in this example, if there is one of those properties that's available, these funds would give them funds so that they could pursue the purchase of that land outside of town meeting.
Right. And would the land automatically be conserved in perpetuity or?
I think that would be the expectation. There is something, I don't know, it's dependent on like getting a conservation restriction, but I think that's the expectation that happens. With that list of lands, they would put them under some kind of conservation restriction. But not in a land trust necessarily, that's where I was just getting.
The land trust, they're all the conservation needs, but when the Concord Land Trust purchases.
When they purchase, yeah, they never.
That's not a town entity.
That's not right, no, that's why I was trying to keep them separate.
That's
But if
confusing.
the NRC tried to purchase land, they would want to put it under a conservation restriction. Understood.
Has the NRC has the town never purchased conservation land like that?
We bought land, I'm thinking of like Balls Hill, things like that, but that's just like.
That's,
Has some people in the town pay for that.
Which one?
okay. I didn't know, okay.
I remember voting for it.
Okay, then, if you voted for it, then we can. Yeah. I think it's nice when the town purchases the land trust and works together with the land trust to make stuff happen.
Yeah.
I don't-
That's not in the terms of this bylaw.
Right,
So the funds
This
in
would be
this,
town owned land. Right,
Right.
so that's what we're talking about here, not the land owned by the land trust.
right, I know. I'm just wondering what.
I know what you're
I'm
saying.
trying to decide whether the town should get into that business. For.
So right now, the land trust is just a nonprofit purchasing.
Right, it's
town-
just
purchasing land.
I think the town owns a lot of land, I can't see why that's a problem for them to buy more,
Right.
or to have the option to do that. With the select board's approval.
So I guess the question is, you wanna take this money from the CPC and buy land as opposed to take this money and do something else like green some building?
That's a different article.
What?
That's a different article. This is the bylaw discussion. All it's doing is saying, we're creating a bylaw that allows for the purchase of land. From a concert, it establishes the requirement. Actually, there's some wording in this that says it establishes the fund. The bylaw says it's establishing a fund. This question that came up the other day, but the CPC is the one who makes this the separate article that's trying to give funds to the NRC for the conservation fund. This bylaw is sort of independent of
Right.
giving funds. It's just setting the rules around use of the fund.
It's independent, but it works together, so it's.
Well, yeah, these two. This one comes obviously before.
I have a question, I think you mentioned like $500,000.
The CPC, yeah.
That's like an acre of land.
So, I mean, this isn't just, this fund will last. You can continue to add funds. There could be donations put in it. They can use the funds for
But this is a
doing
down
research on
payment.
the purchase of the property, et cetera. It's not just for the sole use of buying the land. It's the permitting and research and legal fees associated with it as well. As they would be accumulating funds over time toward the purchase.
So it's creating a separate financial line item. Is that,
The bylaw is just a law
yeah,
that is gonna allow for the creation of this fund.
of a specific fund for
Right,
conservation?
right. And it sets some rules around the use, specifically the select board approving it, but there's more words in the article I don't have in front of me, but.
I gotta really think about this, cause I think we're gonna have to spend a lot of money doing a lot of things.
But this is CPC, that's a separate discussion, this is just the bylaw, the CPC is a separate article,
We're seeing-
where that
no,
funds.
But this is the enabling bylaw to allow this CBC to start buying.
Is that community preservation?
Yes, it is Community Preservation Act, which is the Community Preservation Committee that's making the decisions on how to spend those CPA dollars.
Could the money be used for affordable housing? Or does that be for so-called
No, this would
conservation?
be for conservation, this is for land specifically.
Yeah.
There is a separate, Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It's also asked for money from CPC and it puts it in an account that serves a similar purpose and they use it for the purchase of housing, land for housing.
So just a question of what it means to be conservation land. Or so conservation fund is preserving land, it doesn't have to
Right.
necessarily be biodiverse land trust, like could that be farming land, could that be turning 229 into a compost site? That's town land that we're conserving. Could that be funds to develop those sites for those purposes, or is this more like this needs to be?
I think it's sort of natural environment conservation type work. I have to look at that, I'm not an expert.
We
on
have
RC
text that, like.
There is a
it's additional
whole
question.
100-page report
Oh.
from the NRC around conservation land in town and specifically these areas of interest.
So gosh, that we need for this climate action plan, for sure, we need to be ingesting that, not tonight.
Can the CP, so this fund enables the CPC to give to the town to buy those properties. Can the CPC give the Sudbury Valley trustees to buy?
I don't think they would, that's not a town.
No, I know, but that's enough, or the Concord Land Trust, those are both.
I suppose they give the property and trust went to the CPC and asked, so you want to go to.
Right.
No rule from CPC.
I think sometimes the town like will purchase the conservation restriction or something in association with a private party, like the land trust buying the actual land, title to the
Right.
land. So I think these things can be complicated.
Yeah.
I want to caution us against evolving into a conversation about the rules around CPA fund usage. That's beyond the scope of Article 25.
Why do they need it?
I'm sorry, what,
Why do they need this fund?
who's they? This is the
The
NRC, why they wanna create a
Yes.
fund? Because they wanna have the flexibility to pursue purchase of land outside of town meeting. In the normal course of action, if they wanted to buy land, they would put an article on town meeting and say, I want $800,000 to buy this land. Because they don't have any funds to act independent of town meeting today.
And this has been detrimental in the past.
I'm sorry.
And this has been detrimental in some way in the past, preventing.
I think they're just looking to the future, recognizing how expensive land is. It would be nice to start accumulating some dollars for future use, should the opportunity arise for purchase of land. It's very much a parallel to what the housing group does to put money aside for building houses, affordable housing.
I would have figured use the money to buy an option on the land for the period of time until town meeting, so that,
Yeah,
you know, a small amount of money could be used to protect some property.
Yeah.
And then, but would still, the bulk of it would be a town meeting. That would seem like an example of something very sensible everybody would agree to.
Well, you could invite WK to come talk more about the details of conservation and what's happening if you needed to. You don't have to make this decision tonight, but you could do
Yeah.
more research and be
I
prepared.
mean, I would love to actually have her now to come as part of this work for this plan, because I think it's something that's very underrepresented that hasn't been thought through. And I'll give an example, and I don't know if this is maybe sort of thinking outside the box or two, but like, I'm not sure what the sources will be to fund this, right? This is just an article to create the fund, right? It's not to actually fund it.
Right.
Correct? So in order to fund it, right, we have to think about where's that money coming from? For example, developers come in and they just raise, you know, Hanscom, they're gonna raise 25 acres of trees, right? Some of those might be old growth and sequestered carbon. There should be a penalty for that. They should pay, you know, if they're cutting down a small little tiny little twig, fine. They're cutting down a 100-year-old oak tree that's sequestering a ton of carbon. There should be payment for that, and that can fund this fund, for example. So that's an example of like what I would like to
Great
see
idea.
moving forward.
Yeah.
And that is a natural resources issue and it's an economic issue. It doesn't seem to be in the plan anywhere, and you know, that we're sort of, so, yeah.
But they might need this fund in order to put that penalty someplace.
Correct. You know, so I agree, I don't wanna create more bureaucracy or more line items and things that might be able to be done elsewhere, but if we can't think of ways to create conservation land and keep it, because if anyone went to the land use planning meeting where the Peter Springs field, this room was packed with
I heard
every farmer
Yeah.
in Concord saying, how could you possibly do this? You know, and they, you know, it got squashed, but the fact that it was even made the list was shocking to people, right? And I think it's because, you know, there's just not enough awareness and education that this town-owned land could be turned over to any development at any point. There are no guardrails on it.
In my mind, this proposal is fundamentally about reducing the inconveniences of our system of governance.
Right.
This provides an article of flexibility to NRC, which is under-empowered currently. It allows them to act nimbly and take advantage of hypothetical opportunities in the future where we would want them to act nimbly. A lot of the time when land becomes available, the seller of that land wants to move quicker than the wheels of government allow for. This was an issue in West Concord. When the Giroux land became available, we needed to move so quickly that we had a special town meeting at expense to the taxpayer. It is important for us, and we have heard from members of the public who have come to our committee and said, help us empower NRC. Well, here is one small way where we could potentially, if we want to, endorse giving them more flexibility and more power to do things should they see fit to at some point in the future. So that's something to consider. I think if you are anti bureaucracy and headache, well, creating an additional fund here and Making it, again, subject to appropriation, subject to other discussions about CPA funding and alternative revenue streams. We would be giving them the ability to create a thing for them to use without seeking the approbation of voters at a particular time of year, which may prohibit them from doing things that are good for our environment and our resilience goals. So I would think that it would be really a no-brainer for somebody to come forward with a motion at this point to endorse Article 25. That's just my opinion.
I'm gonna need to learn more about it in order to support.
That's where I am too. I want to know more.
And I'm being a little fiscal conservative because I think giving the town government more, more ability to do things fast without getting approval. There's positives and negatives to that. And I just want to understand them better. Before supporting.
What is the timeline for us to be able to put our support behind it? That would make it.
Well, we've got this meeting, we've already determined a scope by consensus. I haven't posted an agenda yet for our interim meeting. We will have another sitting of this committee prior to town meeting.
Yeah.
If we wanted to have anything put in writing, the town meeting book, we gotta do it now. If we want to have noted fiscal conservative Brad Hubbard Nelson get up on town meeting floor and provide a verbal endorsement from our committee, we could boot this to next month. But if we wanted something for the briefing book, it's gotta be now. So it's up to you.
So would you put stuff in the briefing book for the one that voted on?
Yes, we will. Basically just a one-liner that we endorse it.
Yeah.
Unless we want to do more, I mean, we can have a discussion about that. It's getting a little bit late, but if we want to say more, we could decide to say more, but we would need to do that now. Does the chair hear any motions?
I'd like a little more information, for instance, on the rate of development of land in Concord. It would give us a better perspective of how much land we're losing every year, and maybe there's more urgency to make this a huge fund right off the bat if we're losing all of our open space, for instance. I don't know, I just don't know.
I assume they are.
They're
losing the numbers.
Yeah, right, because I know on Lowell Road here, there's a nice big empty parcel that's up for sale.
I'm going to observe that we do not have an appetite for taking action on this and suggest that we move on.
Can we figure out a way to educate ourselves better? How does that happen?
You
Sorry.
should email Delia
Okay,
and ask her questions.
okay.
And are we assuming that we're gonna put this on the agenda of our temporary meeting, which was set up for other reasons?
I'm not inclined to put this on the agenda for that because I think it will be a difficulty to keep ourselves to an hour.
Yeah, I think an hour is a lost cause anyway.
That's up to you. But I would like to move on now because we are getting late.
But I guess I just think that if we're all going to mobilize ourselves and be ready to come to a future meeting between now and town meeting and be ready to vote on this, whether for it or not, that it would be good to sort of understand that that's something we think we want to be ready to do. Right?
Yeah, well,
Is that
Chair
understood?
Chair would pointedly observe that it was broadcast to everybody here in the room 2 weeks ago that we would be discussing this tonight. Let's move on. Megan, are you still awake?
You should be able to.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'm in the dark a little bit. Yes, hello everyone. I am here and I think in your packet this evening you have a written report from me. I believe I I am happy to answer any questions. And then I was hoping to speak with you about an administrative policy and procedure regarding recycling. Are there any questions on the written report?
Hearing none, let's get to the next page on the
Okay, sure.
procedure.
Thank you. So staff, in this I have a memo in the packet that outlines that we're proposing to update an administrative policy and procedure, which is number 49, our buy recycled policy. And this is tied to our annual Mass DEP Sustainable Materials Recovery Program, which is SMRP grant. This grant program provides funding that can support mercury and bulb recycling, compost bins, and other waste reduction efforts. And as part of the grant, municipalities need to have an environmentally preferable purchasing policy. So we have had APP 49 for a number of years. That has always been kind of related to this grant effort. But this year, the grants, they're looking for us to make sure that all communities to really take another look at the policies that we have and make sure it's updated and in compliance or in line with what DEP is looking for. So we have here an updated policy that expands to a broader sustainability focused purchasing policy that encourages waste reduction, energy and water conservation, use of recycled materials, and lower environmental impacts. This policy also removes some outdated reporting requirements. And what I'm sharing it here with you for awareness and to take any feedback that you have. This is under the authority of the town manager, but before it went to her, and speaking with our public works, my public works colleagues, we thought it would make sense to share it with you all to let you know about the work that the town is doing for our own kind of internal purchasing policies. So I'm happy to take any feedback if you have any.
Megan, can I just ask for clarification? This is something, my understanding is that this revised policy basically is what we already do anyway.
That's right.
No net change to behavior if the select board were to adopt this as you presented it. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. And I think I had one error in my request to be on the agenda. At one point, I thought that it would go to the select board for approval, but upon further review of our administrative policy and procedures, while some of them go to the select board, some are more internal and are approved by the town manager. So this falls into that category.
And so do you know her intention or what stage in the game are you at in terms of presenting this to her?
I have not presented it to her yet, but it's being worked on by our public works staff and myself, and I expect that she will consider it when it's brought to her attention.
What would you like from us?
I would be happy to take any feedback. I don't need a motion, but I'd like to share that I wanted to be transparent about some of the work that we're doing and how it relates to some grant opportunities and just have a moment to talk about this. So I don't have any specific actions requested today.
Yeah, Megan, a while back I had inquired about the use of rubberized pavement, which would fit into a lot of climate, recycling, circular economy. And I never heard whether DPW is willing to do even a trial of that product. We have all this money we're spending on paving roads. I understand this time of year. And that would dovetail nicely with this effort if they were at least willing to look at it. I mean, adjacent states are using this product. So.
Sorry about that, Bob. I did connect with Public Works about that, and I will circle back to see what the feedback was. I don't believe we're doing it currently, but I think that is a good point, and we should close the loop on that item.
Right, that's all I asked. Be nice to know, because I called directly years ago, didn't get anywhere.
So go ahead, Chris.
Megan, I had a couple questions. I see the phrase wherever feasible in here, and I'm trying to get a sense of whether that's just a big out for whenever anybody's too busy to bother, digging out what's the right product to buy. Or whether it's sort of action, is there any kind of action like, employees in order to violate this policy would need permission or, some sort of way of making this actionable for employees in accountability. Right now, it just seems kind of like a bunch of good ideas, but maybe not something that people would be accountable for.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The way we really are trying to approach this in Concord is through culture. And I think that in this community, the employees and the residents feel a very strong tie to our values regarding sustainable principles. And when we are onboarding folks, we're showing them, kind of what is expected here is shown. I think if anyone had been to any of the library sustainability efforts in recent over the summer, they have, kind of plates and cups that they're washing all the time. I mean, there's people are really trying to take this and own it. I think this is a statement of our values, and I think how you spend your money is a statement of your values. And so when we're bringing people into work for the community, we are sharing these policies and trying to follow them. I mean, this does not include, as you pointed out, an administrative step to ask for permission to not purchase sustainably. It is an effort in good faith to work towards that.
Yeah, that was sort of my comment. There's no sort of teeth, and I get that it's some, at the library, I see what they do, and they have an incredibly robust team there that works on this stuff. And so it's going to be a little uneven, and that's natural in any town government. But, environmental preferable purchasing policy as a title, this hasn't been revised in 27 years. I think for 27 years later, we could probably put some more things in here. And maybe it's even just naming it sustainable first versus environmentally preferable. It just feels like it's not moving the needle enough for me personally. I know we're not voting on this, but just in terms of my feedback, 30 years later, feels like we could be doing a little bit more, at least in terms of virtue signaling of what we really care about and want to do as a town.
Do you have suggestions for how you think it could be stronger, or if you don't have any today, I'd be welcome to take them.
I don't off the top of my head, but I mean, Bob, your example of the sort of the paving, and I mean, that's getting into the actual, materials, but capturing those kind of elements of like how the materials and 30 years ago, we didn't have access to some of these products, right? So I guess that's part of it, right? There's just so much more in the marketplace that are more economically feasible.
There was that list there was something that I sent Shannon on this whole.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called even. But
I remember.
you know what I'm talking about though.
Yeah.
There was a big list that just came out about the carbon intensity of building products, I think, they had to deal with. There's certainly been better choices now you can make, which ties into what the town is purchasing, so.
I don't have sample policies or anything from other towns, so I'm sorry, I know this is sort of, kind of not very useful feedback, other than to say, maybe it's just, tweaking some language and making it a little more oomph behind it. I don't know, because you're right, I'm not sure if you can institute anything more.
What do we?
Yeah, we'll take a look. Sure, I think that's valuable. And we'll take this feedback and see if we can incorporate it. And if anyone thinks of anything else that they think should be in here, I have time, before this needs to be kind of moved to the next.
Yeah, another clear suggestion would be EV purchases for the municipality, that has to be priority.
So that's.
We have a separate EV policy.
There is one, okay, great.
And this is just for the town, right? This isn't for commercial or restaurants or things like that.
This is for our own internal practices, correct?
Not schools.
And not schools.
That's right.
Well,
I mean, the use of single-use products is mentioned at the top, and I'm parsing this line to see whether it's suggesting we buy better single-use products, or we try to avoid single-use products? It's a little vague. I mean,
Okay.
the solution is not to buy lots of cups, for instance.
Yeah.
But to find, washable, I forget the term for that kind of, but it does have a sort of a vague quality about it.
I would say, yeah, I mean, if you could put something specific like no single-use plastic, period. I mean, recycle, the recycling bins and trash bins that we get are the side of, but I don't think we need to have single-use plastic.
May I suggest so that this can be handled in a way that has clarity of thought? That we so Megan, you're not operating on a time frame. You're
I
gonna bring
am,
this.
yeah.
to the
No,
field.
I think my time frame is this needs to be to the town manager for approval sometime this spring, I think, probably May. So I do have a little time.
So why don't we all resolve to sit with this with some intentionality and think about any suggestions we might have for Megan to improve her text and get those to Megan before April 1st?
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you. I'm gonna use your brain power here. So thank you all.
All right, let's move along to a discussion on community engagement, Cooler Concord and social media.
Okay. So. I've met with Shelley and Betsy, which I'm on the board with a couple of times about various things, and so Shelley's been putting out a newsletter, and I think everybody's gotten a copy of that probably.
Just the last two, you did the one before,
What?
just the last two, you did
Just
the.
the last two. And she's got she's made a schedule. Can I share your schedule of topics?
Sure.
Oh, and Catherine wrote great article for the newsletter. So the background here is got big plans and can involve other people in them to make the work fun and lighter. So let me see if I have, if I can share the screen.
Yeah.
Just show you this here schedule.
What's this newsletter?
It's not turned on.
This is the Cooler
Yeah,
Concord
you're-
newsletter. It's new.
So let me go here. And then,
You get that.
Cooler Concord. Yeah.
there is this is Shelley's document. It started with January, but February, there was an article about sustainable gifting, and it was we got some comments back, and it's cool. A lot of people opening this newsletter. It goes out to a MailChimp list. Let me put it at plus 150. So basically it has an article, it talks about upcoming events. We can do more. We can put great stuff in there. The March one was about green banking. And you got plans for April, which is activism and area events. What are these groups doing and how can you get involved with that? And this comes out early in the month, like maybe in the first week of the month. It's not like a fixed deadline. Then there's a bike month and a pollinator networks, and these are proposed. We could change these around, but this is an idea of things that are seasonal, that different people have expertise at and could get involved in writing an article. And I think we've been getting some good feedback. I mean, we can see that people open it. We have.
A lot of people checked the green banking one last time.
Was it?
A lot of people were interested in the green banking one,
Yeah.
the Catherine put together.
Do you
the
have-
research.
That's great news. Do you have the number of people who it's sent to and then the click rate? How many people are actually opening?
So, that analytics is all available. I don't have.
But you don't have enough time here.
The top of my head.
What is the, a rough, number of people that this is being distributed to right now?
666.
And they're mostly, or entirely Concord residents?
No, they're probably 3/4 to 4/5 Concord residents.
They must be the same people as are signed up for Black Earth.
There's some overlap there, definitely. Anyway, this is kind of part of, engaging the community, keeping issues on the front burner and getting feedback. And I don't think we're doing a good enough job necessarily getting feedback. We gotta keep thinking about how to use the newsletter, the website, the social media and get feedback. And kind of keep improving and getting feedback.
So if I live in Concord, or I just moved here and I didn't know about this newsletter, how would I find out about it and sign up for it?
Well, you can sign up on the website, but then you have to find out about the website. We can sign people up at any public event that we are part of. We can have do you want to get the newsletter? We should do that.
How about a bulletin board at the library? You have almost this little old fashioned. To pull a phone number off. You know, just a little sheet. Yes, library.
Okay, we should,
Well,
do
thanks.
that. I'm gonna write that down.
There's the bridge.
Bridge. would be great.
Yeah. We haven't really been doing promotion, so the website, which is working nicely, we've been publicizing events on it. And event notifications go to the same list, and a lot of people open those, and I think those are, working pretty well. But we haven't been publicizing the website. We should have a bridge article that talks about, all this great stuff, and we'll get a few signups. It's always like pulling teeth. I just wanted to mention that, and, so events have been posted on the website by me and by Shelley and by Brad. And we have more events on our website than any of the other community sites. It's just like going to town, but there's a lot of sustainability and nature things happening here, and it's great. And these in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna be turning, within Mass Energize, we're gonna be re-enabling sharing it to other communities. So the events that we have here that are appropriate for people in Akron to come to, they'll find out about it. They can see them as well. The other thing we've been doing is social media, and this is social media mostly that gets fed from the group at Mass Energize, to the Facebook channel. There's a Cooler Concord Facebook channel and a Mothers Out Front Facebook channel and a Instagram page. And these are there's like a few hundred followers of those Facebook channels. And they get, we can see the analytics that people are seeing these messages. We take a look at them to make sure they're appropriate. Which they mostly are, but sometimes Concord is a little different than the other communities. You want to put the link to the white plant as opposed to Mass Save or something. I'm gonna be taking over, looking at the social media posts for the next couple of months. But there's not much work in that, and it's kind of fun.
We're trying to do quarterly rotation, so nobody gets burnt out.
Yeah. You don't want burnout. And we're cognizant that this is kind of a town activity, so we're not being activists as much as educators and events that are good for the community to know about, that are sustainability related, stuff like that. Go ahead.
Just a comment on how do we assure ourselves on these types of communications that you're not just preaching to the choir. I mean, it's really a challenge always to get the word out to the people who don't pay attention to these things. And I don't know how
Yeah,
you
reaching to the choir.
but no, how do we go, like, is there a
Well,
list of, like, the people who are buying the heating oil?
so for example, yeah, so we could do a lot more.
But I don't know how you would go about finding those.
But on the social media, what you do is you start following other groups and it kind of automatically connects them to you. So we can follow the library, so the library sees what we post. Maybe that's the Instagram way it works, but
And Facebook.
and Facebook. So we're.
Or the American Petroleum Institute's Facebook page, you follow that and
I think it's more constructively, it's about following other community-based organizations, even if they're not necessarily in the
Good.
climate space.
Great, that's what I'm asking, so
Yeah.
there's a method to that, that's terrific.
We did look at that a couple of months ago, but we should keep on thinking about that. And do more. And if anybody else is like, yeah, I wanna work on that, we could probably get your help. We have to obey open meeting law. So we can't have a real group thing.
Is this like the official website of our group? So
It's the official website of our group.
like we announced this meeting in Cooler Concord?
This meeting was announced on the Concord.org website, but like other meetings.
Yeah.
And it's only official in the sense that the town is paying for it.
Really?
So we feel an obligation that it is appropriate.
How do they, what group pays for it?
I think it just comes out of the
Sustainability budget?
sustainability.
Okay. Okay, now also,
Not huge, but
I think, this is a great service that's being provided. Is this the right name? Like, should it be like Cooler, more resilient and safer Concord or something? I mean.
we picked this name back in 2018.
Yeah, I know.
And it's kind of the brand, so you can change it and improve on it at the risk of
More words doesn't make it cooler.
Yeah.
I know, it's not like, and we have this need to become more resilient. And I know you have advertised resilient things in there, but I'm just thinking, if we really wanna make this more attractive to more residents in the town,
right.
maybe it needs a better name. Cause people in the winter, right, they're thinking, I don't want a Cooler Concord, right?
I don't think that anything.
But
So,
it's also a play on words, I mean, it's cool.
yeah, I know, it's,
Yeah.
I just throw it out there, I mean,
Right,
whether
there's
it's social
no-
media, but,
There's no perfect name.
yeah.
And we do, I guess, on a general level, we wanna be reaching to the 50 to 75% of Concord who kind of thinks, well, I think Cooler's okay. They might not have planted on the brain like us,
Yeah.
but they might, we're not gonna effectively reach that number of people through this.
How many people get it in town, do you know?
Well, you were saying about 3/4 of the 600 or so are probably, so 400, 450, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that.
But there are only 20 followers on Instagram.
Well, that's
Cooler Concord.
Yeah,
No, only four.
So it seems like there's some upside potential there.
right, we could double the number of followers at this meeting.
No, but most of us are already followers.
No, you said only 450 people get this newsletter?
600
Well,
total.
660
So
people,
we population, what, 15,000 in Concord?
yeah,
Cause we like,
or 18,000,
it's like, what, 10,000 households or,
6,000, yeah, so, yeah.
yeah, so we got a long way to go. I mean, I think this is. Again, this messaging is really important.
Yeah, we can probably shouldn't speak, because you know, PTGs to put it in their newsletters would go out to school community, which would reach a lot of parents.
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
anyway, that's.
Yeah. But thank you for your efforts. I think it's really important.
Great, any other discussion before we move on?
Sure.
Hearing none, we'd be in line for any general comments, announcements, or additions to our event list.
I do, on Wednesday, next Wednesday, it's the first public meeting about the Suasco River Project.
It's right there.
Okay.
Take one home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, so I'm hardly, I'm going, so everyone else should go.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm out of town.
Will there be notes taken at that? meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely,
Okay.
yeah.
Are we taking this to hang somewhere? I can hang this up right now.
If you have a place that you think it would be good to post, that would be awesome.
I can think of a website.
It's there, it's already there, I just saw it, yeah, while we were talking, I looked, it's there.
Post them around. I wanted to mention a couple of things, let me get.
I saw Bob's hand first.
Yeah, mine, is a more global kind of thought. How rapidly energy supply can change in this world. And I know that, I'm not familiar with how our energy purchase contract is with CMLP. I know that bulk of our power comes from nuclear, right?
Oh,
30%.
Oh, only 30%, and the rest is made up by RECs, is that how we're agreeing?
Well, they've got PPA agreements, I mean,
Yeah.
purchase power agreements in there, 5 to 10 years, some longer.
Okay, we should encourage CMLP to have backup plans to assure our supply stays
They
green.
keep about 20% on the open market for any point in time, and that's a deliberate strategy.
Mhm.
Just because their needs are very different, but that's their strategy, it's about 80%, it's because they.
I would actually really encourage you, if you have a line of thinking along those lines, schedule a meeting with Jason Bulger.
I mean, I
And
have
dig
concern.
Because if there are improvements to make, that would be something we would really want to seriously consider. You know, in a 5-year action plan. So, you know, I would say like. Have that conversation out with Jason, see if you feel good about where they are. Rather than try to do that, you know, here. I think that's a great conversation to ask questions about, and he's very open to those kinds of conversations. And evidently, about 2 weeks after we have every one of these meetings, he's watching, so now he's expecting to hear from you.
I'm out of town for a couple of weeks, maybe. Yeah, return.
Go ahead.
I wanted to mention 2 events that I'm working on. One is an Earth Day commemoration on the Sunday, April 26th in the afternoon. Earth Day is on the 22nd, but that's like right the National Patriots Day, and it's the middle of school vacation week. What we're gonna do is walk from Congress Center, maybe it's First Parish Lawn, down to Thoreau's cabin. Hang out for an hour, there's gonna be some music, there's gonna be a group walking up from Lincoln. From people from other towns. There's gonna be some, hoping there was gonna be some little classical music. And some motivating speaker about Thoreau and nature. And some folk singing. And maybe some sharing of wishes and commitments. We're working on it, and if anybody is excited and wants to join the planning group, let me know.
There was a big Thoreau talk with Don Henley, some mailing list.
Yeah, I'm going next
I would love to
Monday.
go, get out of town.
It's
Yeah.
sold out.
Oh, that's sold out, I'm sure too.
It's
Which high school is that at?
at CC, and you can only get 2 tickets.
Okay.
They're limited. Yeah,
It's at our town.
it's at our high school.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and Ken Burns won't be there, but other producers from the Thoreau documentary, along with them.
That's great.
Flying to
Strong.
Vegas and it's gonna.
So we'll certainly publicize this, and, you'll hear more about it. And it's not gonna be huge. I got okay from Walden Pond State Reservation. They know we're coming. They think it's great.
No marching jazz band?
Gonna be watching Jed. Then, May 3rd, there's gonna be speaker event, at First Parish with, William Moomaw, who's was one of the Nobel Prize winners of authors, lead authors of the IPCC reports. He's gonna talk about the rose forests confront climate change. And with the subtitle is, will Concord still have forests in 50 years? And why we should care.
Say the time, it's not that date and time again.
That's gonna be May 3rd. In the early afternoon. I think it'll be 2 in the afternoon.
He makes a great argument for the value of old growth trees.
Yeah. And got Delia Kay is gonna moderate.
Terrific.
And we connected them up, and he is such a smart and nice guy. He's willing to talk about anything.
That's excellent. I'm glad that's definitely in the book.
Yeah.
Any other general comments, announcements, or events? Hearing none, thank you to the 4 members of the public that are still with us, either in the room or on Zoom. Now's the time on the agenda for any public comments.
You wanna hear something from Parker?
He had better be in bed by
I
now.
was thinking that.
All right, hearing nobody and seeing no hands on the Zoom. Did this again. I didn't write down in advance what the 3rd Wednesday of April is.
15.
Well, we're not asking for adjournment for the 15th though anyway, but thank you. We're looking for a motion to adjourn next April 6th. Right, at, what did we say?
Yes, that's right.
At 12:30. In this room and on Zoom.
Motion.
Sheriff, see a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.